On the record in docket 22-00125, that's People, the State of Michigan versus Clifton Thomas. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Wilson.
Abigail Wilson for the People.
Mr. Carter.
May it please the court, David B. Carter Jr. on behalf of Mr. Thomas, who is present standing at council table.
And sir, you are Clifton Thomas, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. This is the time set for a preliminary examination today. Ms. Wilson, how we proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have checked the hallway and our complaining witness in this matter is not present. The People cannot sustain their burden without his participation. A subpoena was sent to his last known address. We have not had contact with Mr. Kelly for quite some time, so I expect a motion from the defense.
Mr. Carter.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. It's my understanding this is a 2021 case. At this time, I think it would be prudent that on behalf of my client to ask for a dismissal of the charges. I'll explain to him that it's without prejudice, though.
Thank you. So I will have a motion for dismissal printed out. So Mr. Thomas, this is a dismissal without prejudice, which means the People could reissue if they choose to, but realistically, the case is dismissed today for our purposes. I'm in possession of the Nollie Prosser order of acquittal for 22-00125. I will grant the motion to dismiss without prejudice, and you can get a copy of this from my court officer if you choose. Anything else for the record in 22-00125, Ms. Wilson?
Not for the People.
Mr. Carter.
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Thomas, thank you for your appearance. You're all set.
Thank you.
I'll explain to you.
Did you want a copy, Mr. Thomas?
Yes, please. Thank you.
See you, Mr. Carter.
And I believe we're ready on Mr. Alexander. He's on Zoom. I believe I saw his.
Not quite yet. Hey, good morning, everybody. Is it possible I can get a breakout room with either the prosecutor or my client? And good morning.
Ms. Wilson, did you want to join us? And
Ms. Macomer is going to
Okay,
be
Ms.
taking care of that, and I
All right.
believe she indicated she would be willing to.
all right, so
log in.
I can place everybody in a breakout room once Ms. Macomer joins us.
Thank you.
We have people there. I'll find them.
Yeah,
Really go into the old roach corner.
you can go in the hallway. You can go in the staircase, but it locks behind you.
It does, yes.
Yeah,
Won't do that. Okay.
we found that out the hard way.
Oh, no.
All right, let me all right, Ms. Diallo and Mr. Alexander, I'll place you in your own room, and then with the assistant joins us, I'll place her in the room also. So you should get a
Thank you.
prompt to go to. Yeah, so you'll get a prompt to go to room 1.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Alexander. Miss. I see that. Ms. Maycomer, we've placed you in room 1, so you can join room 1.
All right, look forward to it.
In docket 2402-409. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Jason Babbitt. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Wilson.
Abigail Wilson for the people.
Mr. Feigles.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Assistant Public Defender Stephen Feigelson on behalf of Jason Babbitt. Your Honor, he is downstairs in lockup here at court. I do waive his appearance for purposes of this hearing, Your Honor. I will advise him of what happens here.
All right. As long as you talk to him. Ms. Wilson, do you also waive his appearance today?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. This is the time set for preliminary examination. Ms. Wilson, how are we proceeding?
Thank you, Your Honor. The complaining witness in this matter was subpoenaed at her last known address. The people have been unable to make contact with her. She is not present here today. The people cannot sustain their proof without her presence. I expect a motion from the defense.
Mr. Feigles.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. The defense stands ready to proceed. Mr. Babbitt is here. We're ready to proceed. We are aware this without prejudice, but nonetheless, we ask the court to dismiss this matter today.
All right. I will have the motion to dismiss from the defense printed out? I can hear it. I just like to hear it.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, then we know that there's a thing.
Yes.
All right, I'm in possession of the Nolly Prosser order of acquittal for 24-02-409. That case is dismissed without prejudice. And then Mr. Feigelson, you'll explain to Mr. Babbitt, that means that people can reissue if they choose to, but if realistically for our purposes today, the case is dismissed. I will sign it accordingly. Write down the note. Anything else for the record in 24-02-409, Ms. Wilson?
Not for the people, thank you.
Mr. Feigelson.
Done on behalf of Mr. Babbitt, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. That's all for the record in that file. Thank you for your appearance today.
Steve,
Yes.
could you please let the jail personnel know that we're not bringing him up and he is all set?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. They're the ones who like to send a lot of emails.
Yeah, they're gonna say,
Can I get 2 seconds?
Yes.
I usually tell them when we go down there too. If we don't bring somebody up.
oh, okay. That's a good idea.
I'll have to go down there anyway for 2 other guys.
All right, you got Kelly and Davidson also.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, thank you,
Oh,
Mr. Feigelson.
Davidson was transferred to an MDOC facility, so.
So
I
we'll,
guess
Are
we'll
we
be
sure
getting-
on that?
That's what Sarah said.
We checked the jail list.
I can't find him at FDOC yet.
I mean, she said it just happened yesterday.
But usually they have him going into
Yeah.
Engler.
You're right, he's not on the jail list and
Yeah.
emailed me this morning.
So,
I'm just wondering if he got waylaid on his way, so to speak, by another county.
Yeah, so-
oh, he might have, because
It's
Miss
possible.
Donnelly mentioned something about Eaton County, so that's possible as well. Either way, he's not here.
I just need to know where to rent him from is where I'm going.
Ms. McComber, were you ready on, is it, Mr. Alexander?
Yeah, sure.
All right. That's a PCC.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Ms. Yalloware, call your case. We're on the record in docket 24-02-302. That is People of the State of Michigan versus Deshaun Alexander. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. McComber or Maycomer?
Good morning, Your Honor. Natalie Maycomber on behalf of the people.
Ms. Diallo.
Judge, good morning to you and your staff. Lillian Diallo, P52036, on behalf of Deshaun
right.
Alexander, who's present by Zoom, with consent.
Thank you. Sir, you are Deshaun Alexander, is that correct?
Yes,
And you can hear me all right, Mr. Alexander?
yes.
All right, thank you. This is the time set for a probable cause conference. Ms. Maycomer, how are we proceeding?
Thank you, Your Honor. It's my understanding that we would be asking the court to schedule this for a preliminary examination date. I was able to speak with defense counsel in a breakout room, and it appears at this time that she has not received the discovery in this matter. When I went to go check into that, my computer died. So I will be checking into that as soon as I get back to the office, Your Honor, to see if discovery was sent where to, and if not, to make sure that that gets sent over to her today. And looking at our schedules then, and speaking with Ms. Wilson this morning, we were hoping the court might be able to schedule this the first week of October to avoid trial conflicts between myself and defense counsel.
All right, my only question is that on August 22nd, we adjourned for good cause, and now we're adjourning once again. Do you know if Mr. Alexander is willing to waive his right to a preliminary examination within 21 days so discovery can continue and negotiations can continue?
Thank
Ms.
you.
Diallo.
Mr. Alexander, you're willing to waive your right to have a preliminary exam within 21 days. You're going to have your exam, but you want your attorney to have the discovery so I can at least know as much as the prosecutor.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that okay with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Ms. Diallo. So Ms. Diallo, I'm going to inquire of your client what you literally just said, okay? So Mr. Alexander, you understand you have a right to a preliminary examination within 21 days of your date of arraignment. A preliminary examination is a probable cause hearing in which the people would have to prove by probable cause evidence that a crime has been committed and the identity of the person who committed that crime. You are represented today by attorney Lillian Diallo, and she would be present to cross-examine any witnesses and contest any charges brought against you by the people of the state of Michigan. It is my understanding it is your wish today to waive your right to a preliminary examination within that 21-day period. You'd be only waiving your right to a prelim within that 21-day period you wouldn't be waiving your right to a prelim in general. And that would be so Ms. Diallo can get her discovery and zealously advocate for your defense. Is it your wish today to waive your right to a prelim only within that 21-day period?
Yes.
And the people also waive the right to a prelim
Yes, Your Honor.
within 21 days? All right. I find the waiver of the 21-day rule to be knowing, voluntarily, and accurately made. And we will reset. And then you had a time frame,
If the
first
court,
week of October.
if the court
in
is
that
able,
vic-
yes.
In that vicinity. Let's get a date and then we'll work from that date.
October 3rd at 8:30.
October 3rd at 8:30 is the first date. How does that work with your schedule, Ms. Diallo?
1, 2, 3. You said October 3rd. At 8:30. So I have a matter at 11 a.m. But guess what? I'll move that matter just for this court so I can keep it moving. So yeah, that'll work. October the 3rd
All
at
right.
8:30.
So we'll set it for October 3rd at 8:30.
Okay.
For the preliminary examination. Anything else? And then discovery and ongoing negotiations are continuing. Anything else for the record in 2402-302, Ms. McComber?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Diallo, anything else for the record?
Nothing further, Judge, and your staff have a great day.
You too. Mr. Alexander, we'll see you on the 3rd. Thank you for your appearance today.
What time is that on the 3rd?
It'll be
8:30.
at 8:30 on October 3rd.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
22000095. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Stanley Hansiak. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Wilson,
Abigail Wilson for the people.
Ms. Donovan.
Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant who is present and to my right. Mr. Hansiak, can you give your name to the court?
Your name's Stanley Okay, so you are Stanley Hansiak, sir. This is set for preliminary examination day. Ms. Wilson, how are we proceeding?
Thank you, Your Honor. The necessary witnesses in this matter have not appeared today. It's my understanding that one of the officers no longer works with LPD and the complaining witness did not appear. I tried to make contact. The phone number we have is no longer in service. I cannot proceed without those witnesses today. I expect a motion with the defense.
Ms. Donnelly.
Yes, with that, Your Honor, we'd be asking this case to be dismissed without prejudice.
All right, so I will await the printing for the motion to dismiss without prejudice. Right, I'm in possession of the order of acquittal or nollie pros for docket 22000095. Based on the defendant's motion is granted for the people unable to proceed because the complaining victim did not appear and the people are unable to make their proofs. So this means that the case is dismissed without prejudice. People could reissue if they choose to, but realistically today the case is dismissed. All right, sir?
Thank you very much.
And you can get a copy of this for your records if you want. All right. All right. Anything else for the record in 22000095, Ms. Wilson?
Not for the people.
Ms. Dunn. All right. We'll make sure that Mr. Hansiak has a copy of the order and you're all set.
Okay, have a good day.
You too.
Did you want one too?
No, I just said copy.
And did we have a Davidson?
Steve Davison.
Let's go ahead and bring him up.
He's not here.
He's not here. He's the one that we're not sure where he is.
We're not. Let's
Yeah.
put that on the record. We think we know where he is.
Well, I called receiving and they said he got sent to MDOC.
Right.
So the jail has confirmed that he.
DOC doesn't have him. They're still listing him out on parole. I just checked this morning.
So and what we're afraid of is another jail got him.
Well, my understanding, mom heard from parole agent that Eaton took him, but again, that's what I heard from receiving.
Yeah, let's put on the record. We're just trying to figure out where to write him from for next
I
time.
I tried to look him up on VineLink, but of course VineLink's not working, so that didn't help.
Right. So let's put on the record where we think he is,
Yeah.
and then we'll go from there.
You're good to go?
All right. All right, so we're on the record in docket 2402478. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Monty Davidson. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Wilson.
Abigail Wilson for the people.
Ms. Donald.
Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant who isn't present.
This is my understanding, and then I'll let counsel make a record. My understanding is that Mr. Davidson is with the Department of Corrections as of yesterday. That's what we heard, that he was going to be sent, and then so we checked with the Department of Corrections just to confirm that, and we don't see him on their Department of Corrections list. And we have some information that Eden County may have gotten involved and may have I don't want to say may have got involved. So he may be in Eden County, he may be in the Department of Corrections. We know he's not here. That's the problem. And so I think that's an adjournment for good cause until we can find him and bring him here. Ms. Wilson and Ms. Donnelly, you can make a record.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's my understanding as well. I think that maybe I know we're doing at least 3 weeks because of schedules. I'm hoping that we'll have an idea within the week of where he is, so we'll know where to send a writ to. That's my hope.
Ms. Donnelly.
Thank you. Yeah, everything that's been said on the record is accurate. It's just evident that Mr. Davidson was transferred somewhere. We just don't know where. So I believe 3 weeks would be adequate.
All right, so we will adjourn for good cause based on the non-appearance of Mr. Davidson. That's not his fault. He's with DOC or Eaton County. Those are our best two guesses, but he is not here, and we'll adjourn for good cause I'll circle good cause. And we'll set 3 weeks out. 3 are in that vicinity.
I also see he has an open Calhoun County.
So Calhoun County might be in the mix too.
Calhoun County, okay, I'll note that.
We'll work on finding him but let's find him.
I'm working on that one. September 26th at 1:30.
That's exactly 3 weeks out. Do you think?
Yeah,
All right.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah,
All right. So September 26th at 9:30.
1:30.
1:30. That'll work. All right. So we'll set it for September 26th at 1:30, and then we will endeavor and to find Mr. Davidson. Anything else for the record in docket 2402-478, Ms. Wilson?
Not for the people.
Ms. Donnelly.
not for defense, thank you.
All right, we're all set on that file.
Yeah, I gotta go do this plea, but,
Okay.
on Johnson.
Johnson, I have my QD witnesses here and Officer Hall.
Okay, all right, well then I will have a conversation with him before we go on. All right. All right.
Are we waiting on Hinton?
Yes.
Okay. Frodo, you're waiting on Mr. Hinton?
I am, Your
All
Honor.
right.
I believe I saw him.
All right.
Check.
I heard a rumor, Ms. Wilson, that Mr. Smith is going to be working out of your office. Have you heard that rumor?
Mr.
Sam Smith,
Potentially.
potentially, like a part-time?
Yeah, like doing screening for warrants. Yeah. Yeah, that was the rumor. Now there seems to be a budget question.
I'm
So we'll
assuming
see.
there was to pay him the part-time, He was one of my two assistants.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, we were looking at a couple of part-time positions for warrant screening.
He's a wonderful legal mind,
Mhm.
really brilliant legal mind. All right, Ms. Coney, you can come up here. And you stand right in front of me and spell and state your first name and last name for the record.
First name is Deborah, Deborah, last name Coney, Coney.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right, have a seat here. The microphone goes right to the court recorder. So please project as best you can. All right, ma'am?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Coney, are you currently employed?
Yes.
And where do you work?
Holly Dairy,
Are you assigned to a specific quality dairy?
400 South Pennsylvania.
And is that in the city of Lansing,
Yes, ma'am.
Ingham County,
Yes.
state of Michigan?
Yes.
All right. And what's your job title?
Assistant store manager.
All right. And were you working in your capacity as a store manager on May 2nd of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that at the 400 South Pennsylvania location?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall speaking to police on that date?
Yes.
And broadly speaking, what was that about?
The altercation that he got into it with another customer.
Okay. And what was happening when you first noticed this going on?
He wanted to go to the gas pump on pump one, but the customer was parked in an angle to it. He couldn't get to it. He proceeded to get angry, verbally voiced it, pulled around, went to pump four, came out, walked past, voiced it some more, came in the store, see he was angry, didn't really realize what was really mad. Went on to the other pump, so I figured it was okay. Voiced something else going out to the car, then made the other customer angry. Then they started arguing, I didn't pay attention to it. Figured they'd get over it. No.
And what happened at that point?
My fellow coworker saw he was going into his car. I saw that when I turned around, he reached into the back, pulled the seat down, pulled something out. Noticed that he pulled a handgun out, cocked it like this, put it to his side, and then started talking to the guy again. That's when we got alerted. But I saw that the customer was already on the phone with the police when we came out and was trying to get calm down me and a couple of customers.
Okay. And did you see him reach into the car for the weapon?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you see where he got it from in the car?
Out the trunk of the car.
The trunk of the car. And was it in any sort of casing at that point?
I could not see.
Okay.
He reached into the car, pulled that seat down, reached in and got it.
Okay. And about how long between when he grabbed it did you see him, you said rack it?
In a second.
In seconds? Okay. Have you seen this person before?
Yes.
Okay. And would you recognize the person that cocked the weapon if you saw him today? Do you see him in the courtroom? Okay. And can you describe something he's wearing?
Striped shirt.
All right. Your Honor, I request that the record reflect the witness as identified the defendant.
Any objection, Ms. Donnelly, to the witness identifying the defendant for purposes of prelim?
No, Your Honor.
Right. Well, for purposes of prelim, the witness has identified the defendant.
I have nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Donnelly, cross-examination.
Good morning, Ms. Coney.
One.
All right, so your testimony today was that you were doing your job and you personally noticed the argument at one point going on outside. But you said you were doing your job and you didn't watch all of it. Okay, so did you see Mr. Johnson reach into the trunk of his car? And did you see what he was reaching for at that moment, or was it blocked from view?
He was in high view. He reached in when he pulled it out. Did like that is when I saw it.
Okay, but you saw him take a gun out of the trunk.
I saw something in his hand, and then when he did like that is when I knew it was a gun.
When you
Okay.
say when you did like that, when
He reached into the car. He reached in, pulled out. He did like this.
Okay.
That's when I knew it was a gun.
All right, so let the record reflect, he has reached in with her, she was used her right hand, she's pulled out and did what we commonly refer to as a racking motion, but she
Yes.
waved her left hand over her right hand.
Okay, and then, but to clarify, you saw him take the gun out of the trunk, but you didn't see what he took you didn't see where the gun came from in the trunk.
No.
Okay. And you said that after he removed the gun from the trunk, you said he held it by his side. And did he try to, at that point, he was still in a confrontation with the other customer?
You could tell they still have words. I was inside the store, but the other manager alerted me to where we was watching to make sure to see if we needed to call the police. We went outside and that's when we saw the other man was already calling the police.
Okay.
Because he had his child with him.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Redirect, Ms. Wilson.
None, Your Honor, thank you.
May this witness be excused from the people, Ms. Wilson?
She may, Your Honor.
From the defense? May this witness be excused?
Yes, but I think, yes, we would like a sequestration order so along with the other witnesses.
All right, so ma'am, you're excused. You'll still be sequestered, so you'll be out of the courtroom, but you are excused from testimony. Thank you for your appearance.
Thank you.
Any further proofs today, Ms. Wilson?
Yes, Your Honor, people would call Jacob Hamill.
All right, Mr. Camel, you can come through here. You can stand right in front of me. And please state and spell your first name and last name.
First name is Jacob, Jacob. Last name is Hamel.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, please have a seat in the witness chair. The microphone is for recording purposes, so get as close to the microphone as you can, but I need for you to project as best you can to the back of the courtroom. And Ms. Wilson, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Jacob, are you currently employed?
Yes, I am.
Where are you employed?
Quality Dairy Company.
And are you assigned to a specific quality dairy?
Yes, I am.
What's the address for that?
400 South Pennsylvania. Don't know the exact zip code though.
That's okay. Is it in the city of Lansing to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Ingham County?
Yes.
State of Michigan?
Yes.
Okay. And what's your job position at Quality Dairy?
I am a shift manager.
Okay. Were you working at that 400 South Pennsylvania location on May 2nd of 2024?
I have to check my schedule, but to the best of my knowledge.
To the best of your knowledge. Okay. Do you recall speaking with police around that date?
Yes.
Broadly speaking, what was that about?
It more than likely would have been a question of what had happened that day, out at the gas pumps.
Okay. And what was happening when you first noticed what was happening at the gas pump?
It seemed like there was a minor altercation between two customers.
And can you describe a little bit the series of events that happened?
I didn't see what built up to that point. I just kind of saw when things came to, the end of it, or the part that I had seen. From what I understand, there was some words that were traded. Both people in question were a little heated. And when I happened to look up, I saw a firearm get drawn.
Did you see where it was drawn from?
From where I saw, it was pulled. It looked like it was pulled from the back seat.
Okay. And about how long did it take for the individual to retrieve it from the back seat?
In moments like that, things happen so quickly, but also very slow at the same time.
Okay.
I would say most 10 seconds at least.
And did you see whether it was getting retrieved from any sort of bag?
So from where I was sitting, all I could see, so the pumps are set up. It was out by pump 4, closest to the road, so I could not see that far from the position that I was sitting. I just happened to turn my head at the last second and see that event happen where the back door was open and then kind of where it escalated from there.
Okay. Do you recall what kind of car that was?
Not off the top of my head. I would say it's a 4-door. I had to guess.
Okay. 4-door sedan, SUV, something else?
I believe it was a smaller car, so like a
Smaller
sedan or bigger.
Okay. I have nothing further at this point.
Ms. Donnelly, cross-examination.
Good morning, Mr. Hamel. So your testimony here today is you recall working that day and seeing this altercation at the pumps.
Yes.
Did you watch the whole incident?
No, I didn't see what built up to the point that I experienced.
Okay, so what you experienced, it said is you turn your head at the last moment to see him getting the gun out of the back seat. That's what you know. That's when you started paying attention.
Yes, I was counting lottery at that time, so I was sitting down behind the counter facing the store, and that's when I turned my head to the right to see the windows.
Okay, and at that moment when you turn and you see Mr. Johnson retrieve a gun from what you say is the back seat, correct? All right, and did you at that point, did you see Mr. Johnson conceal it anywhere on his person?
From when I looked over, from the point that I saw it was pulled from the back seat, I watched it get pulled from underneath his shirt, so it'd be basically at like 12 o'clock. That's where it would be like hell. Yeah.
Okay.
And it looked like it was pulled from his jeans.
Okay, so did the gun, so what you're saying is you witnessed him take the gun, did he take the gun out of the car, put it in his jeans first?
That's what it looked like to me.
Okay, but you said, but again, you turn quickly and you were inside the store, correct? And so, and then when you turned and you saw him, what did he do as soon as you, like, what was he doing as soon as you saw him?
So when I had turned, the two people were arguing, and I watched him go from the argument that was happening and then walk to the car, grab something out of the back seat. When he turned, I saw no gun in his hand, and then I watched him pull it from his jeans and then proceed to cock it.
Okay. And did you see him aim it at the other occupant or the other person in the altercation?
No, it wasn't aimed directly at the other person. It was just essentially brandished.
And you said that he essentially held it at 12 o'clock. The aim was, the gun was pointed down at the ground.
It was drawn at 12 o'clock, but more or less it was just held in front of him. It wasn't pointed in any way. It was still facing the ground.
Okay. You're not sure, but you believe that he drew that gun from around his waistband?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, no further questions.
Redirect Ms. Wilson.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
May this witness be excused from the people?
He may.
From the defense?
Yes.
All right, so sir, your testimony is done and you can be excused from the witness chair. You should be out of the courtroom so you don't see any other witnesses testify, all right? Thank you. Thank you for your appearance today.
Thank you.
And then Ms. Wilson, any further witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, one more. Officer Douglas Hall.
All right, Officer Hall, you can come this way. And please state and spell your first name and last name for the record once again.
Douglas Hall, Douglas. Last name is Hall, Hall.
Okay, do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. You can have a seat. The microphone is for recording purposes, so please project as best you can to the back of the courtroom. And Ms. Wilson, you may start when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Hall, where do you work?
The City of Lansing Police Department.
And what's your job title?
I work as a patrol officer.
What are your general duties?
General patrol on noon shift hours.
And were you working as a Lansing police officer on May 2nd of 2024?
I was.
Did you have occasion to respond to a weapons complaint that occurred at or near 400 South Pennsylvania Ave?
Yes,
And did you actually go to that location?
I did not.
Okay, and what was your role in that response?
The accused vehicle in the weapons complaint had already left the scene, so I searched the area trying to locate that vehicle.
And were you eventually able to locate it?
Yes, I was.
How did you find it?
So the officers on scene related there was a license plate given by witnesses on the scene. Plate was ran through lien. We found the registered owner. I believe it came back to a female. Using TLO, I attempted to get a phone number for the female. The phone number that came back, I called that, and Mr. Johnson answered the phone.
Okay, and what is TLO?
It's basically a private information database.
Okay, and you said Mr. Johnson answered the phone. Did you at some point meet with Mr. Johnson?
I did.
And where was that at?
It was at his work. I believe it was off of Beach Street.
Okay, is it in the city of Lansing?
It is.
Ingham County?
Yes.
State of Michigan?
Yes,
And did you actually talk with Mr. Johnson at that point?
I did.
And what was his full name?
Believe his first name is Keith.
Keith Johnson? Okay, would you recognize him if you saw him today?
Yes.
Do you
He's
see him in-
sitting right here in the striped shirt?
Okay, Your Honor, I'd request that the record reflect identification.
Any objection to the witness identifying the defendant for purposes of prelim?
No, Your Honor.
Without objection, the witnesses identified the defendant for purposes of prelim. You may proceed, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Your Honor. And did you speak with Mr. Johnson about the incident you were investigating?
I did.
And did you talk to him about the firearm?
Yes.
What was that conversation?
So basically, he advised that there was some sort of a altercation with another vehicle at the gas pumps, at the Quality Dairy. They got aggressive with him, felt threatened, pulled out his firearm, which is registered to him for his security job for his purposes, before eventually leaving the scene. And then we made contact with him at his work.
Okay, and was a firearm eventually found?
It was.
And how did you go about finding that?
So we obtained consent search from Mr. Johnson, and he advised it was located in the back seat of, I believe it was a Blazer. It was in a locked pink case.
And can you describe the case a little bit?
I don't recall exactly if it was hard or soft, but I do remember it was pink and the zippers were actually locked. Mr. Johnson gave the code to unlock the zippers.
Do you have any training specifically with firearms and firearm storage?
Very limited, but yes.
Limited. Do you have any experience handling firearms and firearm storage materials?
Very limited.
Limited. In your experience, did you recognize that case as something that's typically used for firearm storage?
If you're asking if it was a gun box, it was specifically designed to hold a gun, then no, it was not.
All right, I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Ms. Donnelly.
Your Honor. Good morning, Officer Hall.
Good morning.
So when you met with Mr. Hall, you said it was at his place of employment, right?
Mr. Johnson, yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, sorry. You said that did you specify, did you know that he had a security job?
I did not at the time.
Okay, all right. So when you met with Mr. Johnson, was he inside the car?
He was not.
All right, and when you in your limited experience with with containers for guns, but experiencing the container he had, do you felt like you could have opened it without the code for the lock?
I mean,
Like-
if you're asking, could I have pried open the zipper? Possibly. I mean, I didn't take that good of a look at the zipper to see how heavy duty it was.
All right. And when you did, and when you opened the, and when you did get access to the gun with the code, was the weapon unloaded?
It was. It had a magazine in the chamber, in the magazine well, but no rounds were in the magazine or in the chamber of the firearm. So it was empty.
Okay. Your Honor, no further questions.
Any redirect, Ms. Wilson?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
May this witness be excused from the people,
He may, Your Honor.
from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Officer Hall, thank you for your appearance. You're all set.
Thank you, sir.
Any further proofs, Ms. Wilson?
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Do the people rest at this time?
We do, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Donnelly, any proofs today?
Just one moment, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor, we have no proofs.
All right, thank you. Motion for bind over, Ms. Wilson.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The sole felony count in the complaint is the carrying concealed. We heard testimony from Officer Peterson at the last day, from Deborah Coney today, Jake Hamill, and Officer Douglas Hall all testified that this incident occurred at a Quality Dairy at 400 South Pennsylvania Avenue in the city of Lansing, Ingham County. Deborah Coney and Officer Hall both identified Mr. Johnson as the individual involved in this complaint. So the elements of venue and ID have been met for the purposes of preliminary exam. Going to the elements of the offense, there was testimony from Deborah Coney and Jake Hamill that they witnessed the defendant pull a firearm from his car. Both indicated that it was done very quickly. I think there is circumstantial evidence there that the gun was not properly stored at that time in the vehicle. If it had been properly stored, it would have taken time to get the gun out of the box in order to take it out. So I believe the elements have been met. The defendant knew that the pistol was in there because he went and he got it. Additionally, he told Officer Hall about it, so he knew that it was in the car. I'd like to draw the court's attention to MCL 750.231A, and that provides some exceptions for the CCW. The pertinent one here is that a CCW does not apply where a pistol is unloaded in a closed case designed for the storage of a firearm in the trunk, or a place not accessible if the car has no trunk. We heard testimony here today that the firearm was in the back seat of the car. This was a Chevy Blazer. As Officer Hall testified, it did have a trunk, so it was not properly stored in the trunk. Additionally, it was not properly stored in a container that is designed for the storage of a firearm. So the CCW exception under that rule does not apply here. So if the court weren't to find that there was probable cause at the 400 South Penn location, I believe that there is sufficient probable cause that the gun was not properly stored and was carried concealed within the car at that Beach Street location when Officer Hall found it, as it was not in a container designed for the storage of a firearm or in the trunk of the vehicle. Thank you.
Response, Ms. Donnelly.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would request that this court not bind over on the CCW. The evidence today presented does not amount to probable cause that Mr. Johnson was carrying a weapon concealed in a vehicle or upon his person without the proper permits. The testimony here today was that there was some conflicting testimony. One employee said that he did go to the trunk of his car to get the weapon. Another employee said that he believed it was just the back seat. Both of these employees are inside the store when this is happening. Both of them doing their job, one of them in a sitting position that might not have the best angle. Both of them said that they weren't too close to see definitively. But what we have is that an incident happened at the pumps at the Quality Dairy. Officer Hall's testimony was that Mr. Johnson said himself that he felt threatened. He went to his vehicle to retrieve his weapon. There was no timing involved. I don't think either employees testified because neither of them actually watched the whole thing. They were working, so they didn't see from beginning to end how this all went down. They both basically see, well, Ms. Coney testified that she saw a coworker. She said a coworker alerted her, saw him going into his trunk. Ms. Coney saw Mr. Johnson grab the gun, didn't see what container it was in. Mr. Hamill didn't say what container it was in. The only evidence we have of what container it was is with Mr. Hall. So if it's led to believe that Mr. Johnson, if he had the gun unloaded in his car when Mr. Hall was there, he possibly had it in the same kind of position when he was at the pumps at the gas station. We don't know how long it took him to access his gun because I don't believe the evidence today was very clear about the timing of how long it took him. And then when it comes to whether he was legally carrying the gun, the law does say that it has to be, it specifies where you can carry a weapon in a vehicle. The evidence today points to that there was a container that it was, whether there was some evidence, the theory is being presented that the container was not designed for guns. I believe the testimony here today from Mr. Hall was that he's had limited experience in that. It did seem like it wasn't specifically made for guns, but it doesn't preclude it from being something that it would be in fact a way to legally carry his gun. So for those reasons, Your Honor, I don't believe that it was established today that he was carrying the gun illegally on his person or in his car. And we would be asking that this not be bound over. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson, response.
Briefly, Your Honor. First, self-defense is not a defense to carrying a concealed weapon. Second, the testimony here was pretty consistent that there was mere seconds between going into the car and then seeing the firearm. If the gun was properly stored, it would have taken longer than that. And regardless of whether it was in a container, the container that Officer Hall found it in was not a container that was for the purposes of storing a firearm. And the statute's very specific. The plain language specifically says that it has to be designed for the storage of a firearm. That's not what we had here. There's a reason why this statute exists the way it does, because carrying a concealed weapon can potentially be a dangerous offense. So we can't then backtrack and say, well, since the gun was in a container and it was locked, that should be sufficient. That's not what the law provides. The law provides it has to be a case specifically designed for the storage of a firearm. We don't have that here today. So I think there's circumstantial evidence that it wasn't properly stored at the time that it was retrieved from the vehicle. It was in the back seat at the time that Officer Hall found it at Beach Street, and it was not properly stored in a container. So I think the elements here have been met, and I respectfully request my number.
Thank you. The standard for preliminary examination is probable cause being the second lowest standard in criminal law, reasonable suspicion being a lesser standard. So that is the probable cause standard. I find by probable cause evidence that it did location in the city of Lansing. That would be at the Pennsylvania, the 400 South Pennsylvania is where it started, in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan. The date of May 2nd, 2024. And I've previously talked about the venue. All the witnesses I've listened to: Cameron Peterson, Deborah Coney, Jacob Hamill, and Officer Douglas Hall, I believe. Officer Douglas Hall testified to that effect. So location, venue, date, and ID has been made at a probable cause menu, at a probable cause level. The defendant was picked out by Ms. Coney as being, as previously being identified as a regular customer, and identified him as the person who was at the scene. So we have the elements of the offense at a probable cause level. I find that this really started at the altercation of the Quality Dairy on Pennsylvania, where Miss Coney indicates that she saw him reach into the trunk of the car. There is some dispute as to what whether he, but she had him reaching into the trunk of the car and pulling out the firearm and racking the firearm, which would indicate that's a probable cause evidence for a bind over. I find her to be somewhat credible in regards to the carrying concealed weapon. We also have Jacob Hamill, who had a weapon at the time at the scene. His testimony was a little less persuasive, but he did have the weapon in the hand of the individual. That more of a count 2 offense, but not as to the count 1 offense. He had it coming up from his waistband or from his hand, and then brandishing the firearm. And there's no chronological order to what witness saw when or where. Of course, they were both working and both saw these indications. I thought it was credible testimony that they were both deciding whether to call law enforcement because they have a duty to protect their patrons. Officer Hall later around the same event saw the Blazer, stopped the Blazer in the same vicinity, and was able to recover the firearm that presumably had been previously brandished or pulled out of the gun. And there's some questions to the casing involved, but I think this all started at the Quality Dairy, and that's just confirmation that there was a weapon in the vehicle that he pulled out of, which supports Ms. Coney's testimony. So I'll find that so this case is bound over on count 1, which is the CCW. First, the pistol was in a vehicle. Second, the defendant knew the pistol was there. Third, the defendant took part in carrying or keeping the pistol in the vehicle. And we have him actually grabbing the vehicle out, and in a matter of seconds. I think she indicated, Mr. Hamill said in 5 to 10 seconds. She said it was all pretty one motion, 3 to 5 seconds, I would think. But she put it in a very short amount of time. So I find it was bound over on count 1. Is the request for bind over is granted on count 1, and the misdemeanor will go will go as to count 2 will follow. The count 1 is granted per the bind over is charged. I'll indicate that the examination was held on today's date, which is September 5th. It was found that probable cause excessively both an offense not cognizable by the district court has been committed, and the defendant committed the offense. So I will sign, but prior to signing the document, anything else for the record in docket 24-02211 on this case, Ms. Wilson?
The court might have said it and I missed it. Is the misdemeanor count following as well?
That misdemeanor count is following
Thank you, Your
as
Honor.
well. Count 1 is bound over and count 2 is to follow. Anything else for the record in docket 24-02211, Ms. Donnelly?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So I will sign the bind over document. So Mr. Johnson, your time in district court is done. You're now on to circuit court where the case can continue. You'll get your next date in circuit court from your attorney, Ms. Donnelly. All right, sir? All right. Anything else for the record in 24-02221, Ms. Wilson?
Not for the people. Thank you.
Ms. Donnelly?
No, Your Honor.
All right. You're all set, Mr. Johnson. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Did you want us to get Mr. Kelly?
My understanding is one of my witnesses is here. I was hoping to go talk to her briefly
All right.
beforehand.
All right. So we'll hold off on that. And is Mr. Hinton here? Ms. Schroeder? That kind of says it all.
He's not, and I am honestly concerned, because like I said, I had very good contact with him. I talked to him as recently as yesterday, and he confirmed, yep, I'll see you tomorrow.
But so we'll wait on.
Yeah, we're
wait on
calling him, I
Yeah.
emailed him, and we're.
Right, and we'll let Ms.
response.
Wilson go talk to her
Thank
witnesses
you.
and then we
I
can
appreciate
continue
that.
on.
Judge, could I approach first?
Sure.
I have a stipend
You're
order.
gonna go see.
This
She's there,
client
I'm gonna go
was
talk to her.
scheduled
Oh,
for
sweet,
sentencing
okay,
tomorrow
awesome.
morning. His brother was killed in a car accident.
I mean, it sounded like he didn't.
Saturday.
Two Saturdays.
Two Saturdays.
But the funeral is
I
Saturday,
gotta
this
check my notes.
Saturday,
Okay.
and it's got a bunch of family coming in.
Oh,
He asked if we could adjourn.
Understand.
I have
Had a lot
notes.
going on
Where's
today.
my-
Yeah, it's all mixed up there, I'll
Yeah.
make sure. Some people wanna take the offers and some people don't.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you.
Should I have that, please?
Yes. There you go.
I'll get copies of the new notice sent out to you. this
Okay,
afternoon.
you just gonna pick a date.
I emailed you back,
Oh.
September 26th at 8:30 at that first period docket.
It'll be a Thursday morning.
That might be, could we do it 1 week after that? I think I'm in Boston with my daughter that week.
Oh, Mr. Palmer, you're starting to be like Mr. Carter.
October 3rd.
I'll take October 3rd.
Okay, October 3rd. Yep, I'll get that noticed out.
Your daughter might have something to say about the September 26th date.
Yeah.
Well, we're going because she really wants to go to Salem.
Right.
She wants to go and see like all the witch stuff. But also I'm a baseball fan and I've never been to Fenway.
But I get to be in Fenway a week from Friday.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
I've never been. I'm a baseball fan. I've never been. I'm going there for a conference in Woods Hole in Massachusetts.
Okay.
At the Oceanographic Institute. And me and my wife are huge fans and we're like, we've never been to Fenway Park. Let's go. And I've been told to take the tour. So we're going to take the tour of
Okay.
Fenway. Yeah.
Well, it was funny because we were talking about it and she was like, well, let's go in October. We were gonna go in October and I said, you know, one of the reasons I'm willing to bankroll this trip is because I really want to see Fenway. And their final series of the year is that weekend against, they have Tampa Bay coming in.
Right. I think they play the Cardinals. I think we've got the Cardinals.
Okay.
But yeah, that became the impetus of our trip too. It's like, you know, like, well, if you're within driving distance, you got to go to Fenway.
Yeah, you gotta see it. You gotta see it.
Yep.
So, yeah, so we're gonna see.
Actually, Mr. Palmer, it'll be the 4th at 8:30.
Got it. Thank you so
I'm
much.
giving you a notice. If you can hang on 1 second.
Oh, okay. Apparently, we're supposed to also be getting tattoos. Like, tattoos.
That I want to see.
She turned 18 in July. So. Yeah.
Oh, man, that girl dad thing.
Yeah. Really.
Tattoos. I don't think my dad'd be down for that.
I don't. Yeah, I don't
Maybe
think
next
I. My daughters have some tattoos. They're Miss Wilson's age, but I don't know if I would go that far for them. So, Mr. Palmer, you're doing a good thing.
I don't have any either, but
Here, let me paint one
we'll
now.
see. See how it goes. I don't know.
Mr. Palmer will mail one out to your client.
Excellent. I'm gonna call him.
I figured you were probably in touch
Yeah, I'll
with
call him so they get back to all.
Oh, he's still getting a notice.
Yep, fair enough.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
I think my daughters know the answer if they ever said like, Dad, we want you to get a tattoo. My answer would be not gonna happen.
My dad would just look at me.
Yeah, like, it's not gonna happen.
Megan and Michael have that.
Absolutely.
Do they really? One of my daughters has two. Because they got it with their roommates in college, and those girls have all stuck together. The other one might have two too. So there's.
Judge, we're not muted, just saying.
Well, that, So we're on the record in docket 9624900976001, or that's the number that it's been assigned. And we are doing a swear in on the felony complaint. And this is investigator Russ Matthew. Mr. Matthew, I'm going to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the affidavit to the attorney, do you swear or affirm that the information that you're going to provide the court is true to the best of your information and belief in support of the felony complaint?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed. So go ahead and tell me.
The Department of Health and Human Services on February 11th of 2020 received a referral from overpayment establishment analyst Annette Fullerton regarding an Antoinette Watson who failed to report her employment and earnings from her job with the Department of Transportation Management and Budget. And this overissuance allowed her to receive food assistance that she was not entitled to. A review of this matter determined that Antoinette not only failed to report her income, but consistently remained in non-cooperation with child support, failed to report her marriage, failed to report her husband, Cleophas Armour, and his income with the United States Postal Service as well. And Cleophas also received unemployment that was not reported. Antoinette's actions allowed her to continue to receive food assistance and state emergency relief, as well as direct support services. And those were all based on the income that she reported. This investigation determined that Antoinette received $21,708 in food assistance from March 1st of 2017 through September 30th of 21. $197.12 in state emergency relief benefits that happened on 4/16 of 2019. And she also received $4,000 in direct support service benefits on 12/18 of 2020 to purchase a vehicle, which she was not eligible. Antoinette married Cleophas on 11/11/2011, gave birth to their daughters, Serenella and Kennedy. Antoinette, Cleophas, Serenella, and Kennedy share a home for the past 13 years. Antoinette applied for FAT benefits on 7/13/2011 for herself, added Serenella beginning on 2/1 of 12, and Kennedy beginning 9/1 of 2014, but failed to ever put Cleophas in the home. Antoinette, by failing to report her marriage to Cleophas and remaining in non-cooperation with child support, while not reporting her aggregate household income, composition, and her and his income, and eligible to receive FAP, SIR, and DHS benefits.
Thank you. So based on the testimony provided under oath in the oral affidavit, the court finds that there's probable cause to believe that count 1 should be issued, which is a welfare fraud over $500, count 2, which is a welfare fraud over $500, and count 3, which is a welfare fraud for failure to inform $500 or more. And I will sign the summons to that effect. This is the felony summons. Okay. Summons. No wonder we do this electronic. I'm finding all my paperwork. All right. So I will sign the document. And then bond would be set at arraignment. Is that your statement? Okay. I want to make sure I've got all the. Someone's in complaints. 1, 2, 1. I'll leave the second part. So I will give back to the officer. How does the following clerks get all of this? Do you want to do it?
I need to, he didn't spell any of the names, so I gotta go back to the notes and put all the spellings in.
All right, to make sure that.
To make sure that we have a correct record,
All
and
right.
then I can ask Megan, or I'll take them over there.
All right, sounds good.
But yeah, nothing was spelled, so I have to.
Sorry, I should have done that.
All right, so we're all set, and then I'll leave you in the hands of my court recorder to make sure the names are correct, and then
Yes.
to walk you to the jail
Awesome.
clerks.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you so much. So Wendy, you can take care of.
Yeah, I got it.
So spell your first name and your last name on the previous case.
Russell,
So that's Russell.
and then Matthew, Mathieu. It's a French spelling.
All right, just making sure. All right, thank you.